Wake up, you tea heads that fell asleep on your computer. Putting TeaDB on repeat. Wake up!
Oh my god. Welcome to TeaDB.
Bringing the A game today.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Are we in the beginning or the end of the
I'm not sure. It could be either one.
episode 333.
Yeah. That one's for you college students.
Yeah, indeed. So today we have a 2017 ripe from Yunnan sourcing. Where's the packaging? I threw it away. Yeah, we'll cut and be right back. And we're back. It is the Huirun.
Yep, 2017.
Cool.
It's a ripe blend that Scott's been making for years now.
Yeah.
And this is the rinse, I think.
Yeah.
We are using the remainder of a sample. Pretty
Smells great.
interesting smell for a ripe, yeah.
And a blend meaning...
I think a blend in the sense that he's using different grades of leaves from the batch. So I don't know actually what the breakdown is, but probably like some small leaves, some medium-sized leaves, some larger leaves. I know Scott is one to sort of tweak those things a little bit here and there per year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. As opposed to maybe something that would be kind of like a single origin or single source tea, which would just be like tea, bushes from this one or trees from this one spot, and that's it, and they're all sort of homogenous in that way.
Right, and you're trying to process everything more or less the same way.
Right.
Right.
Look at that color. Oh my goodness. And that teapot 130 ml?
I think 140, 150.
Okay,
so
yeah.
close.
Looks like quite a bit of tea itself. So I'm going to do a high pour. Already have a beautiful brown, deep auburn color here. Looks excellent. Smells classic. Smells nice. Cherry notes on that. Let's dive in.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Cheers.
Cheers. And I'm trying to be careful here because this pot is going to retain much more heat than typical Gaiwan, potentially, depending on the thickness of the walls.
It will, yeah.
And so you can make sure not to burn yourself.
Yeah. Unless you got the mom hands. I'm not sure if that one's offensive. Cheers. The texture on this is really nice.
Yeah, really creamy.
Yeah.
Yeah, both in flavor and texture. Nice sweetness. Molasses, bark, classic, ripe flavors.
Right.
Really good balance, though. Surprisingly sweet. Really nice so far. I'm excited. This is great. And we had a 2018 sample.
From Scott?
I think so. The same exact tea
Yep.
that I smelled. This one smelled to me, for whatever reason, a little bit calmer, basically. Cool down. And this is really sweet.
Yeah, really nice.
Yeah.
Really, really pleasant, I gotta say. Well, I would say that to skip ahead a little bit to the mom test, I would say that this tea, as far as ripes go, would do pretty well.
Absolutely, yeah.
It has a lot of nuance, maintains a lot of those like higher notes, those creamier. Sort of has that like how do you describe it? That sort of cherry sweetness to it that you get sometimes in these ripes.
Absolutely. Really sweet, really approachable. That's ultimately what the mom test is this tea is approachable. Someone who doesn't drink a lot of tea, could they try this tea and enjoy the flavor profile? Especially true of raw and ripe pu'erhs, which are a little bit atypical from a flavor perspective. Is someone going to try this and say, oh, this is kind of gross, or, I don't love this flavor profile, but I still think it's like pretty approachable and kind of interesting and different. So I think this tea really is. Wow, look at that color. So I don't really know how much leaf I used, frankly. We just had the last bit of a sample.
Right.
But
For a tea like this,
quite a bit.
I think you can be it can be quite flexible on the amount of leaf.
Yeah, and you're gonna get more texture and potentially some juiciness out of it that way.
Yeah. Don't recommend that's how you do cocaine, but for ripe Pu'erh, works great. Cheers.
Man, just leaving these nuggets of wisdom here. Jeez.
Yeah. I had to say something else to wake up those college students.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not endorse drugs or any. Just drink tea and be merry. Don't take yourself too seriously.
We certainly
do not.
Yeah, please don't take us that seriously either. Oh, James and Denny said I should measure my cocaine.
This is really nice. Getting bolder, thicker, woodier.
Yeah, a little creamier too.
I think this is one of the ripes that we brought on the show that I feel like being heavy-handed is okay. Sometimes you can make that sort of like pitch black. I know people have done it at home. Pitch black ripe where you forget it and you're just like, oh my, I'm pouring syrup into a cup right now.
Yeah.
And you dilute it by like 1/4 of
right.
the, add 3/4 of the volume of liquid and it becomes kind of like a ripe again. But
right.
Yeah, this one's quite nice. Not at all abrasive.
And ripe is actually one of those teas where you can kind of get away with that sometimes. It's like raw Pu'erh. I mean, like dump that stuff out.
Yeah,
I don't want to drink that.
Even if I overbrew an iced green oolong, it can get too bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. So
no joke.
I know this is sinful to dump this, but
yeah, but you're supposed to make eye contact with them while you do.
Yeah, so I can insult them and look at their eyes. I'm actually going to use a little bit less water here and then just immediately get this going.
Actually, I don't think I told you this, but someone started to comment on our troll account with the name, the screen name, like, don't discard the rinse or something.
Yeah. Good. Hell yeah.
We made it, Mom.
Yeah.
We made it, Mom.
We're a meme. We did it.
We're real.
I'm running for president next.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a little bit hard to show on camera just how dark this is, but quite beautiful. Also, part of that, too, is the higher up you go, the thicker the actual brew will be, and therefore the harder it will be to see through. So your actual, chahai or vessel itself of what you're pouring into will influence that somewhat. So good idea, too, if you want to standardize all your teaware so you can get a better sense on an ongoing basis of the differences in saturation and so forth. So I know in beer they call that like the IBU, which is basically a measurement of the opacity, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
IBU. Huh.
Yeah, I don't know what it stands for. Here we go.
Cheers.
International Beer Units.
There you go.
That's
IBU.
probably not true. All right, cheers. Really tasty, classic. I'm not getting quite as much of the cherry sweetness anymore.
Right.
But still quite earthy and barky and delicious.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of, I think the cherry sweetness tends to come out on maybe the lighter infusion. So the first one was a little bit lighter. We're brewing a little darker, so it's a little stronger, I'd say, overall. Mm-hmm. A little bit more body to the tea, a little thicker, maybe a little oiliness to it even.
Totally, yeah. But still plenty of sweetness on the side of my tongue. And just a very cozy, really tasty tea.
Right.
I love ripes, so
yeah, and that's
spot.
And it's really hitting the spot on this sort of rainy day. And the texture actually kind of reminds me a bit of some whites and blacks, sort of been verging into that sort of silky texture range.
Absolutely, yeah. It has a great just mouthfeel physically, regardless of the flavor. I'm going to go ahead and heat the water up and just give this a little bit of a stress test and see what we can push out of it.
Sounds good.
So, in terms of the age of this, make sure you have enough water. That's good. How do you think the age has affected this? So it's 2019. This is a 2017 ripe. So as everyone knows, ripes are sort of artificially aged very quickly.
Yeah.
But it still had a couple of years to hang out.
Right.
Would you imagine there's enough time there to make a difference?
Probably a mild difference, I'd say.
Right.
And the other thing to note with ripes is when you're talking about Pu'erh, it's like the pressing date is the date that it's usually displayed as. Not always the case, but usually the case. So 2017 is when it was pressed. and I'd have to check Scott's description to know what harvest these are actually from, because they very well might be 2016 or 2015, which will also play an impact. But I think the main thing for ripe is that after it sort of has that pile, it gets piled together, you want to let it wait for a bit and air out so you don't get a really sort of nasty, fishy taste to it.
Right.
And I don't know. Personally, I'm a little bit more, willing to roll with that at times. But like, if you really want a nice, clean taste to it, then waiting a few years is not a bad move.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And in terms of storage techniques and things like that, to do so, just want to keep it at a constant humidity.
Right. Don't store it in your bathtub. I mean, I think if you get this, you can probably just, I don't think you need to be too anal about it. Put it in some sort of odor-free cabinet somewhere, and just let it sort of hang out.
Yeah. But to James's point, I think that this tea is probably going to taste, pretty similar to the newest version of this tea that's coming out, and that, we're not going to be experiencing nearly as much of the aging 2 years down the line as we will 5 years down the line. That was when there will be a lot more kind of a more of an exponential change in the flavor profile. So this is still considered probably a young ripe.
Definitely.
And will potentially benefit from more age, but right now it's still really tasty. So just kind of out of the box, it might require a rinse, maybe even two, but really, really approachable and delicious.
Yeah.
All right, this one's going to be hot.
Yes.
Here we go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'd say did very well with that sort of stress test. I didn't see how long you brewed it for, but it's really rich, really creamy.
Yeah.
I think it really hits the spot. This might be my favorite.
Yeah, this is really good. And there's still a lot of that sweetness.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Yeah, not nasty at all, not overbrewed whatsoever.
Actually, I'm going to peek inside and just see from a volume perspective. So, I mean, we have half at least of the
vessel.
Probably about half of the vessel is, full up of the leaves. The cake itself is, pretty lightly pressed, I'd say. It came apart quite easily, and just so no my fingers, no tea pick required or anything like that.
Yep.
And that will also enable it to age a little bit more quickly, as well, just having more oxygen flow through the actual cake.
Right. Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah, really tasty. Kind of offers a nice, complex range of notes that's a little bit probably different from your standard ripe. I'd say it's definitely above average for me, at least, as far as ripes go.
Yeah, totally.
And I've always enjoyed Scott's Flavor Run series, and this tea is no exception to that.
Absolutely. I think that this is a tea that you can throw a lot of heat at. You can use a lot of leaf. And even at its young age, it's going to taste really, really delicious. It's sweet. I think if you want to get introduced into this category and you prefer teas that are potentially a little more approachable, this would be a great tea to start with because you're not going to get any of those off flavors.
Very clean.
Yeah, exactly. But you're also going to, there's plenty of sweetness, and it exemplifies the category quite well.
Absolutely.
Still really tasting all that saccharine sweetness. So.
Good at the mom test, good at ultralight?
I'd say probably.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a pretty forgiving tea, and so kind of more of a grandpa-style brew would work quite well.
How have you found that people that you might go into the mountains with like these sort of ripe teas?
Actually, they find it interesting. Uh-huh. It's a category that is quite different from what I think people normally would associate as a tea flavor, but... whereas raw is really a hit or miss category or profile.
Right.
And there's so much diversity in that category, of course. But these ripes tend to go over quite well. I typically will make them pretty approachable and pick something that's a little bit sweet and less odd. So.
And you think this tea would do well in that?
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So shout out to Scott, Yunnan Sourcing. Check him out. Thanks again, dude.
Yeah, this is a great one.
Yeah. And James, if people want to learn more about tea.
Yeah, check us out at TeaDB.org. Hit that subscribe button. We'll mix it up and we'll shout at you every few videos to make sure you are awake. So that's for you crazy kids out there.
All right. See you. Staying cool.
Yeah.
School. See you next time.
Cheers.
Peace.